All right, we are live for the office hours here on the ViaMonstra Academy. This is where you can ask questions on pretty much anything, MDT, Intune, ConfigMgr, imaging, Windows, infrastructure in general from Microsoft. Today, I have a very special guest in the studio here. It's Mr. Andrew Johnson. Welcome, Andrew.
Hey, Johan, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
Good, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we'll be taking care of you guys for the next hour. And we, as usual, we are monitoring questions on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. You can also follow the stream itself on Twitter, but we won't be able to see any comments from that platform. New for today is that we don't have an optional Zoom meeting going on the side as well. It's only this channel where we will ask or read the questions from. So if you have any questions, by all means, start sending them in, and we'll be ready after just this little message. All right, then. Excellent. So while we're waiting for some questions to come in, there was a reason I invited Andrew for this session today. And for those of you that have been using our hydration kits, you may have noticed that Andrew recently published quite a few updates to those kits. And I figured who would be better to actually showcase, though, than the gentleman who put them together. So, Andrew, I'm going to go ahead and share your screen on the display and see how this plays out.
Sounds good.
All right.
You see that okay?
That looks okay to me.
All right. So yeah, thank you for the introduction, sir. I'll start real quick with showing this in GitHub. So if we go to the deployment research GitHub, you'll see both of the current hydration kits. There's also associated blog posts on Johan's blog, Deployment Research. We have the 2019 hydration kit and the 2022 hydration kit. So if we click on the 2022 one, there is a link here that should take us down to some optional post-configuration manager install tasks that I added here. Doesn't look like the hot link took me, but I know how to get there. So this describes some of the roles, and I'll show these here in a minute in MDT, that you can actually automate as part of your hydration kit install if you so choose. So by default, these are going to be disabled, but we can go ahead and enable them, and you can do things like an automated install of the reporting services point, the software update point, and any of the prereqs like WSUS that are required for those. SSRS in this case should have already been installed as part of the default config manager task sequence in the hydration kit, so that prereq is already done. But if we go ahead and open up the deployment workbench here, we can go to, let's see, I've got the 2022 one right here, the one that we were looking at. And we can open our CMO1 task sequence. And if I scroll down here, you can see those very things. So there's a few applications that I've added in here that will install the reporting services point, install WSUS, configure WSUS, reboot, and then allow the software update point to install. Now this can be really useful. For the last nearly a year now, I've been hosting some training sessions right alongside Johan at the ViaMonstra Academy, and so this is helpful to quickly get a new lab going for our sessions. And I found this to be useful to just automate that last part of it. One note here, if you do enable these, the first sync of WSUS, if you've gone through that install before, can take some time, maybe several hours before new products are actually shown in the software update point configuration. And there's some notes here on how to track that sync, but that's just something to make note of. In my testing, I saw this potentially take a couple of hours, and at first you're kind of like, oh, why hasn't this install finished up yet? And it should just give it a little bit of time. So we can actually look at a couple of the scripts in here. If we, let's see, source hydration. Here we go. So we can go ahead and look at like the reporting services point application. Simply has a config file that you can actually customize if needed. If you've got a different domain that you've configured for the hydration kit or a different username for SSRS. And then a simple PowerShell script that has some logging in here. And then the actual configuration of that reporting services point. And those applications are about the same. Config file and where needed, and then a PowerShell script. So pretty straightforward, but definitely can save some time if you want to have those automated when you're hydrating a lab.
All right, beautiful. Thank you, Andrew. Excellent changes. Anything else you wanted to showcase, or were you done with that?
No, I think I'm all set for right now. Thank you.
All right, sounds good. I'm going to go ahead and close that screen for a second. And that should bring us back. So by all means, if you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to post them in either the LinkedIn live stream that is going, the YouTube live stream that is going, or the live stream we have on the ViaMonstra page on Facebook. And for those of you that are fairly new to this, you may be just catching this stream on Twitter for the first time. Let me go ahead and update my little sheet here. So this is obviously gone. And this is where we post them these days. So let me go ahead and bring up that link. There is nothing like live stuff. What can possibly go wrong in the live demo? Not much. All right, so this would be the link to or one of them. The other one would be my Facebook account, actually. So Facebook page. So I will bring up that link as well for those of you that happen to like the Facebook side of things. And I will go ahead and actually share that screen also to have a chance to see what I'm doing here. I think that will be helpful. So we have this page here where the live stream is going. And then, of course, we have the LinkedIn one, which is simply my profile, because I have yet to figure out how to stream to LinkedIn through a page or to a page on LinkedIn. I didn't see that as an option in the streaming software. So here we are. So this is where you can post questions. For those of you that have done it before, well, I see there's a few questions coming in already. So beautiful. All right. So a few questions coming in. The first one is on Facebook. This is from Matt. Hi, Johan. I have an error, Adobe.xd error in my capture Vim. Basically, any idea of what that could be? I have not seen that. That's something you stumbled across, Andrew. I know you have played around with quite a bit of the Adobe Suite software for one of the environments that you manage.
Yeah, a little bit. I have not run into that error, though. I'll see if I can find anything while we're going through some of the questions, though.
Yeah, what I do notice that the packager that they used to have to create the Adobe Suite packages from Adobe, the desktop version seemed to be so functional on certain version of Windows 10. Whereas if you use the online packager, I had better success with that one. So maybe something like that. And they do also offer educational settings when you do that thing. So this particular error apparently comes in the sysprep log. Yeah, I'm sorry, it's not something I've seen. Could be something in the application suite that sysprep simply doesn't like when it tries to clean out the machine. I did actually learn quite recently there are some advanced sysprep settings that I've been sysprepping machines my entire life that I didn't know about, that a community friend actually pointed out to me. So see if I can find that post. It was for one of the reference image posts that I did for Windows 11. I got a little handy note here from Daniel Aris, when there were apparently some init files that being configured to basically change a little bit the behavior of sysprep. In this case, it was the intention of allowing the sysprep to run, even though there was an application that would normally block sysprep from breaking. So maybe something like that. On the Academy itself, where we have the office hours, this is where we will share all the links, etc., from the session that we go through. So I'll be happy to post that link in there. Wherever it went, I had it right here. So that could be a starting point. I thought it was pretty cool, this state init file option. I've never played around with it before, but apparently it exists, so good stuff. I'm getting that link, and I'm just making a little note in Notepad here to share it later. Get rid of that one and move it off the screen. Too many monitors. That's in, I have one too many because I only have two. The error that this fix did was basically the very common sysprep error that you might have stumbled across when you try to run sysprep. You get like a sysprep not happy type of error. So maybe something like that could help. All right. Let's see what else. There was a question from Richard regarding how to best automate adding users and groups in Active Directory. Well, I'm a big PowerShell fan, so I usually use that for adding users in. If you are new to what you can do in scripting in PowerShell, you can still use the version of the Active Directory administration tool where you create users in the GUI. And for everything you do in that GUI, it will show you the PowerShell version of the code to run. But if you do just a little bit of search on GitHub, for example, you see plenty of examples on how to create users in Active Directory. Quite a ton of blog posts that covers the area as well. For those of you that haven't seen it, there is a very there is a search engine for GitHub itself. And I found this one extremely useful when looking for code, because this one will show you code that won't show up in Google or Bing search result. So I'll put this link as well so you have it. We showcased this one earlier in these office hours. But basically what you can search for is things like create AD users, and you can set a filter for, say, PowerShell. And hopefully it's something will show up here that you can get some idea from in the code or in the code examples that shows up. So apparently here is someone who have been creating some test OUs in PowerShell, and here's the sample code on how to do that. So quite useful if you don't like what Google or Bing returns to you. So of course, this is just filter. You can have any type of question in the beginning. It does support quotes if you want to put in like an exact phrase. For example, earlier this morning, I was playing around with a bit of not that one, but this one here. And if you're looking for certain commands that you want to play around with, you can just take that commandlet and search for in the same engine. Now you start to see examples that relate to that particular one. So I really like the search. It's quite new. You need to have an account on GitHub to use it, but free to sign up for. So good stuff there. All right. So I hope that answered that question from Richard. Let's see, Kevin asking, do you personally see any issues of turning off all Windows Update tasks during production deployment and then afterwards add clients to Intune, which has Windows Update ring assigned to patch the machine? Well, as long as your image is updated already that you're deploying, I don't see the harm in waiting the half an hour it takes for the machine to enroll, get the device configuration from Intune, and starts to become patched through the Intune mechanism. Autopilot, unfortunately, as an example, doesn't allow officially that you're patching through the enrollment process, something I wish they would have added because it makes sense to have it there. They can patch the autopilot components now, at least that's something that they enabled back in 1903, but you can't do the monthly CUs as part of the autopilot process unless you go a little bit of the unsupported ground and, for example, borrow some tricks from Michael Niehaus, where he basically is running a PowerShell script as an app during the deployment. Yeah, so this one here, good old post, but here's a PowerShell script that you can run. And I'll save this one out anyway, so you have it as well in the link section. I just wish that stuff like this had been enabled by default. Not sure if you have any comments on that, Andrew, anything you'd like to add?
No, that's pretty much exactly the way that we're doing it now, is just ensuring that the images are up to date, pushing them out that way. We don't have any of the updates happening in the deployment anymore. And then, yeah, they'll pick up the update ring later on. But I think, like you mentioned, the critical part of that is just making sure you're using an up-to-date image.
I mean, there are so many ways to get an updated image these days. Either you simply download a ready-made ISO from Microsoft that is already fully patched on Volume License site and on my Visual Studio, former MSDN. Microsoft are releasing updates monthly or monthly patched ISOs. And I know you, Andrew, you showcase some of the solutions from the community during our trainings as well. Mm-hmm. Can you mention anything about those?
OSD Builder, I like a lot for making sure OneDrive is patched and enabling .NET right in the image, and we just have that across most of our images. Super easy to use and keep the images up to date.
We also have from Miss Donna Ryan. She has the Winwich solution up here that does also making sure the images are updated using the same type of update engine as the Builder components are using, or not the same type, the exact same engine. And she wrote a really nice user interface on top of it. So click, select what components you want, what languages you want, what not, and it spits out a nice web file in the end, fully patched with the right components, and you can use that as part of your
Yeah, super helpful if you want to add some things after the fact. Do you have your script as well, Johan, that will pull the WIM file out of the ISO that you download?
I do. If you don't mind cheating just a little bit, up on the repository that we use for most of our training stuff, I have export. One day I'm going to organize them nicely into folders. Okay, that's on my bucket list. But here is one for Windows 11. Added some checks lately to it. This script was a little bit shorter before, but the shorthand version is you specify an ISO, you specify a WIM file, a WIM folder and WIM file, and you specify what index to export. And this takes maybe 20 seconds to run. And then you have a reference image in that folder that you can use. So if you haven't seen the script before, by all means, go ahead and borrow that one. I'll post that link as well into the chat. And we have been somewhat good in also posting these links under the YouTube channel as well. So they will show up there also. That was a follow-up comment there from Kevin. Use the latest ISO, and it seems to cut down imaging to about half an hour. Yeah, if you don't have to do any patching during the actual deployment, if your image is really up to date, you can image machines pretty quickly these days. I've seen imaging times down to 5-6 minutes, even doing cloud imaging. And then, of course, you have to add another half hour for whatever the autopilot enrollment process takes if you're using that piece. But it's actually possible to get an image down and enrolled within about 10 minutes if you don't mind using things like bulk enrollment and other components. There was a follow-up question on Kevin regarding issues with Windows 11 ADK and MDT. And that depends on which Windows ADK 11 you're using, because I didn't realize it until just a few weeks ago, but in the end of May, Microsoft released a new, so if I search for download Windows ADK, I go to their download page directly. The version that is here is actually 22.82. This one does not play well with either ConfigMgr or MDT, even though you can get it to work if you don't mind being on a very unsupported ground. They seem to have broken something for MDT Light Touch in this build. So if you are using that, I recommend going back to a 21H2 version of ADK for 11. I did write up a little post about it, yes, the other week. 2 weeks ago then. But basically, the 32-bit boot images are gone, so you will only see 64-bit boot images. And if you install this on an MDT server, it gets upset and it crashes. So you will see something like this in the console, not happy at all. So you simply have to go borrow a 32-bit one from another ADK install and add it into the mix, and then the workbench stop crashing. But then when you try to do a deployment, you will see this. So something is missing in the boot image. So for now, I'm sticking to Windows ADK for Windows 11, but I'm using the 21H2 version. And you can still put that in the chat, by the way, before I forget. Adobe. So yeah, on the download page where we were earlier, there is a link for older versions down here. So this one here is where you can download the 21H2 version for this one. So that works. All right. So shorthand story, use 21H2 and life will be good. All right, let's see what are the other questions coming in. Don't think we missed anyone so far. Any other questions out there? We have a whopping 32 minutes to spare. Built any new Lego sets lately, Andrew?
Not in the last couple of months here, just my big AT-AT last month.
That one was that was a pretty impressive build.
Thank you. That one took a little while, but man, it was fun. Now I have to start filling it up with snow troopers.
Yes, of course. That's how you do it.
Exactly.
So you spent about 18, 20 hours building it?
Yeah, probably. Slowly. I'm a slow builder. I like to enjoy it, and I was watching some Star Wars while I was building it, so
yeah,
take my time.
Yeah, excited about the grand final
tonight? I am. That is my plan tonight. How about you?
Yeah, so we have a production setup of an iPixel server for customer between 9 and 11 p.m. because we had to do it off hours tonight. So I'm hoping I can squeeze it in either just before that, between dinner and that one, or I have to wait after 11 to watch it. But that show is going to be watched tonight for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right. Kevin just says hi and bye. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for stopping by. And anyone else? Any questions at all? We'll be happy to answer.
I have one that I can ask. Maybe it'll help somebody else.
There you go.
So the modern driver management solution, if you're going to do a bare metal deployment over the CMG, you can't do install drivers using the PowerShell script. You have a blog post about speeding up driver package downloads for ConfigMgr OSD. Is that a viable alternative to using that script if you're going to do a bare metal deployment over CMG?
So I actually have good news. I got confirmation from Maurice just, if it wasn't yesterday, it was the day before yesterday. They have added in full support from their end to actually include that in your cloud imaging sequence for the CMG. So I can show you that because I was like one of those. I was reading up on their website, which is this one here, obviously. So this solution here that a lot of people know about and love, because this one has an option to put drivers into Vim packages, and that goes to what you refer to, Andrew, as speeding up the deployment. So this is what I've been starting to use for years now for on-premise as well as cloud imaging type deployments. We put driver packages in either zip file or Vim files. I usually use Vim files because it's so much faster, so much better to download. But this one had a little note on the Cloud Management Gateway somewhere on this page. And they recently updated this text here. So while they're using maybe a little bit trick to do it, it actually does download this from the Cloud Management Gateway DP through the admin service when you do that. So what I had here, I simply had sequences, not that one, but here. So this is my normal one that I'm using. This is where I have my reply driver packages for on-premises deployment, where I'm simply pointing out my admin service server. In this case, this is my site server, of course. And then I also try to play around with the different versions for the CMG itself. And this time I'm specifying my CMG endpoint rather than this. And if you want to get real fancy, you can actually put a condition here and say that this step here only runs when this variable is set to true. Because if you start a deployment, ConfigMgr deployment, and you have configured your boot image to go to the cloud management point, it actually sets this value to true. So in my case, it flips the endpoint to the right endpoint when doing cloud imaging, whereas on this one, where I have a variable set to false, it goes to my on-premises distribution points to get content. So it's nice. By far the best driver solution out there at the moment.
Yeah.
We will see what Microsoft comes up with, but I finally released their deployment service, which allows you to pull updates directly from Microsoft. We'll see. How was it that you quoted, Andrew? I had a good wording for it.
Cautiously optimistic.
Cautiously optimistic. I tried to remember that, but yes,
Courtesy. I think that was a Brian Dam quote.
Yeah.
So I think we're supposed to be seeing the public preview of that any day now.
Yeah, it's supposed to be in June. Also July, maybe. See if they updated that post. See what Google tells us. Deployment service drivers firmware. March 2022 was the original post, I believe. Or was it 2021? Roadmap was updated on, let's see, we can find this. Roadmap update. I swear I clicked.
Is it at the bottom of the post, I think?
I think so too. Let's see if it... Yeah, fantastic. It takes me to the same page. All right. Yeah, July. Oh, yeah, it's not July yet. So it does say public preview July. So I'm very excited for this one. But until this, or maybe possibly long after this, I will continue to use the driver automation tool. There was a new version released just last week, but this is an amazingly good tool to pick a model, tell if you want the BIOS, tell if you want drivers, or both, and just go ahead and download those, and they will create packages. This is good stuff. How many thousands of hours Maurice and Nikolai have poured into this over the years, I cannot imagine, but I figured it's quite a bit.
No, this is amazing, especially environments where you have a whole bunch of different models. I've seen those sequences shrink down quite a bit once this is implemented.
Yep, indeed. All right, there was a question coming in from Antonio. Configure PowerShell remoting on Windows client with group policies. How to limit connection from one admin workstation. Ooh, I've certainly set up PowerShell remoting policies. Let's see here. Where do I have some of those? I'll check this domain controller and see if I have any. PowerShell execution policy might be part of our lab policy, thinking of it. See what we have here. No, here's the policy. So the question was basically, all right, I want to play around with enable the remote management capabilities, WinRM capabilities for PowerShell remote and other fun stuff. And do you want to limit that to a privileged access workstation, basically? I have not tried that. I mean, you can set some filters on the machine itself on which way you're allowed, like you do scripting in a lab environment. You typically, see what I have here. Let me, oops. Let me grab that one. I have a feeling I can show that particular screen. Bad. The benefit of doing live streams is that it's really, really live, and there is no.
I think I may have the policy that could help with this, Johan.
Beautiful. Can you share it?
Yes. If you want to switch over to my screen, I should have it up.
Well, so here are yours. There is mine gone.
So under computer policies, admin templates, Windows components, WinRM service, there is an allow remote server management through WinRM. And this is where you can configure your single IP or multiple IP ranges, both for IPv4 and IPv6. So this may be of some use. Just to say this one single IP, 192.168.1.100 or so. Let's say, for example, I haven't obviously tested this myself, but I believe this is the policy that will allow you to do that.
Right, can you zoom in on the name of that one real quick?
Mm-hmm.
You have Summit.
Yes. Sorry. I think I do on here. No. Aha. There we go. I didn't forget how to use it.
All right. I got a follow-up comment from Antoni that this was probably not what he was looking for.
Okay.
All right. Sorry about that. This is what we came up with at the moment. If anyone happen to know in the feed here, have a good way of restricting that from just single workstation, by all means, let us know. I'll be happy to share that information with you guys. So, all right. We did our best.
Tried.
All right. Any other questions?
This is configuring the listener. So maybe this is the
was
local IP address.
That might very well be, yeah. Yeah. All right. So close. So close.
Yep.
All right. Any other questions? Or someone happen to know the question to or answer to Antonio's question here? It would be fantastic. Well, we still have a whopping 19 minutes to go. So after that, we'll probably have to start building Lego things live. That could be one thing.
Got a whole backlog here I can start with.
There you go. All right. Question coming in from Jose. Hi, Johan. As we move to co-management, should I be concerned with bandwidth? Does Intune get data from ConfigMgr, or do clients feed directly to Intune? So it depends a little bit, but I know you, Andrew, you recently migrated the software updates workload from ConfigMgr over to Intune, or Windows Update for Business managed by Intune, in one of the environments you work with. And when you do that, those downloads are actually coming from Microsoft's various CDN servers. So the same CDN servers that comes when you download, say, Win32 apps from Intune, they also serve updates when you have that workload switched over fully to Intune. And those downloads, no matter if they're software updates or if they are Win32 apps, they are using the liver optimization as they download. And by default, that one is enabled to peer-to-peer in Windows. And I actually had a blog post just the other day on how you can track that, and you can see how good that efficiency is directly per download job. So here on our blog, this is my second home here at 2Point Software. This is where I spend most of my hours every day, it seems. But
Do you want to share your screen, Johan?
You think that would be helpful, sir?
I think it would be helpful.
Yeah, I think it would be helpful if I share the screen. Thank you.
Thank you.
So this is the blog post, and this is a little bit of PowerShell that allow you to track how they're being downloaded, what the peer-to-peer efficiency is, etc. And then, of course, when I tweeted out this link, it didn't take more than a few hours until Trevor Jones posted, like, hey, I saw your message here. I came up with a trick to parse it and do it very, very nicely. So he posted a link for that one. Let's see if that is updated. Yeah, so here is his script up on GitHub. So let me post these links, or make a note of them at least so I don't forget them. I should save that document before I do something not so bright. So this script here, he figured out a way how to parse all these messages nicely, because they're messy the way they are structured, these messages, to say the least. So if I take his script and run on an environment, see where I put it. Not on this one. Maybe this friend here. Away you go. Yeah, here it is. So here is the script from Trevor Jones, and just a bunch of parsing code, basically. Quite elegant, I might say. If you run this, it will show you everything there is to know about the DO download jobs on this particular machine. So you can see if it's a content policy, meaning a policy for an application, or if it's an app download, or if in this case, something related to Windows Update. And for each of these downloads, you will see exactly the download speed, the peer-to-peer efficiency, how many peers they were using, etc. And interesting enough was that some of my update peers, these guys here, 48 and 50 of them. I don't have that many peers online in my environment at the moment. So those are actual internet peers. Wow. They are peers that are outside of my network, but they happily peer from them. So it's probably some poor consultant sitting at an airport trying to read newspaper, and I'm downloading content from his or her laptop. So basically, if your network, there was a follow-up comment here from Jose, and was, what if you're blocking firewalls in between? Well, yeah, for clients to be able to peer, they need to be allowed to do that. But the default behavior in Windows 10 and Windows 11 is to have peering enabled on your devices. It's just not very usefully or good configured by default. So we have published a ton of recommendations, or a list of recommendations, really, for Intune to make this efficiency go up higher. I have those here. Yeah, so DO recommendations for Intune. So you make a note of that one as well. If you follow these, you will see that you can bump up your performance quite significantly from the default 5-10% effectiveness up to 60 to 80% effectiveness. And that is, it does a lot for improvement. There are other things you can do. If you don't mind, you can spin up cache servers that you have locally to speed up things. It's still supported. There are standalone versions coming of these, but even today you can use a ConfigMgr cache server for Intune. It's just a dumb box being a cache server at the moment. So that works. We do have on the Academy, we offer mini courses every now and then. So at least once a month, we run a free course for the community. Most of the other courses, they are paid for, but the mini courses, they are free. And for example, we do have one for everything peer-to-peer that you can watch. So it gives you like a deep dive into everything related to peer-to-peer, DO, branch cache, peer cache, config managers, cache, or the Microsoft connected cache for both these type of environments. And we did one in early this year. We did one just in May. So those recordings are available. We will do another live one in Q3, probably in the August timeframe, give or take. But you can simply log in here. The price is free. And you can watch, learn more about those technologies there. All right, I'm getting that link. All right. Any other questions? Still have 10 more minutes. There's so much fun going on these days. Microsoft are doing a lot of updates in Intune and in ConfigMgr, so good stuff coming up. I just saw it this morning. I hope it's coming real soon. But they were announcing labs for Azure AD, like
natively,
a built-in version of sorts.
Wow.
I think it was Rudy that we shared that post. Try to find that in my Twitter feed. I'm not very successful by that. Let's see if I can find it. Remember, I bookmarked it.
Garrett Chandler tweeted it out, it looks like.
Do you have it on your screen, sir?
I will in a moment.
There we go.
Let's see. So he tweeted out.
All right, I'm gonna have and see if I can find your screen to share. to the studio. It's okay if I share it?
Yep.
All right. Let's go back to this one and go in this one.
So he tweeted out labs for AAD devices built into Windows, which has a link to a Windows 11
Insider
preview build.
Yeah.
So I wonder if there's some...
I remember there was a note on the blog itself saying basically like the full functionality is for a legacy Active Directory only, but we are working on getting it over to Azure AD as well. Might have been on that post where you were, the link that Garrett shared.
So feature documentation not available yet.
Something that I saw popping by.
Here, the feature is fully functional for domain joined clients, but Azure Active Directory support is limited for now to a small set of insiders.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you were referring to?
That's the one, yeah.
Okay.
That's the one. Well, one can hope.
Yep.
One can hope.
At least we know they're working on it and it's coming.
Yeah, it's nice. That's been one of the most requested or most asked questions ever.
Absolutely.
On Intune. Can we please have labs? Thank you. And the community came up with some pretty clever solution. Separate teams put together some elegant lab solutions that work today that you can implement. But of course, it's nice also get it fully built into the platform.
Yep.
That's good stuff. All right. Any other questions? Great questions, by the way, today. It looks like we're going to fill the complete hour.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah. So MDT, config manager, Intune, imaging, enterprise education, you name it. We'll be happy to answer any questions you might have on those platforms. And we have a whopping 5 minutes to spare. 6 minutes even. I'm going to double check to make sure I didn't miss any. I don't think so. Do you have any more questions, Andrew?
I don't think so. Not for today, at least.
Yeah, exactly. So we have published up the times for July as well. We're gonna have a break in the beginning of July because might come as a shock to you guys, but I'm actually planning on having a week of vacation.
Yes, well deserved.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. It's been a while. I'm going to go out to Sweden to visit the family. Mother is turning 80, so it's a big one.
Yeah.
And my sister was basically, if you don't show up, I will murder you. I'll be there. Don't you worry.
That's the one to listen to.
Yeah, I would have gone anyway, but those were her exact words. It's like, all right, come in. Yeah, so vacation days, but otherwise we run these schedules as usual, 4:30 to 5:30. Any final questions for you guys or from you guys? Don't see any in the chat at the moment.
Everybody must be finishing Obi-Wan right now.
They must be. And thank you for not posting any spoilers. Excellent. But all right then. We'll give you a few minutes back to your day. Andrew, thank you so much for joining us today, and everyone for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for having me. Thanks, everybody.